quick AI strategy to get you clients if you're a podcast agency. This is very interesting because we mentioned the person with a podcast if they would like better sponsors, and we also mentioned to them if they would want some help getting more and better guests, better podcast guests, right? So here's what the email looked like without the AI part, right? Just close a couple of windows because this is incredibly loud. So as you can see, it's a very short email. It says first name, more sponsors like this. That's the AI part. And I'm going to show you what it looks like in action. So that's the template here. And the emails look like this. I like this email because it's really short. It's going to get in the mailbox for sure. So the first name of the person, and I could help you get sponsors like Audible. When can we discuss my AI strategy more in depth? Google Cloud, IBM, Zoom, MailChimp, Microsoft, L'Oreal, GoPro, and Red Bull. So this guy's probably, he's in the action space. Rad season, a term for the stunt people in California. So, okay, how did I get that? That's the first one, and the second one is like for a guest, right? So it's the same formats. Like I could get you more guests of that kind. So, for example, I could get you more fintech CEO guests growing by 50% a year, right? So how I did this, first, I uploaded a list. I used Contact Out, and I used an algorithm to mention if they have a podcast or no. Return no if you don't have a podcast, or yes if they do have a podcast. So here they had a podcast, right? And I did another one for they don't have a podcast. I'm gonna make a video of that one. These guys, I'm pitching them. You should have a podcast for XYZ reason. And yeah, I started with the more guests of this kind. So I'm like, analyze this full guy, and in less than 25 words, write what kind of guests we could attract, right? And then I gave it an example. Giving it an example is super important. Do not return quotation marks. For the sponsors, I did something similar, and I gave it the example. I could help you get sponsors like Spotify. It's a short list, right? Out of 6,000, only the first people in the list had a podcast, which, by the way, signals that all the most popular people on LinkedIn, they do have a podcast, right? AKA, you should get on the podcast train. This is what that means, but this campaign is pretty fun here. It's a small 322 samples, but if you can tell someone that you can get them better sponsors, they're gonna listen, right? Because these sponsors pay like 5 to 10K per episode. My services, I charge 3.5K per month to do that. So asymmetric returns, right? Asymmetric odds. And then for the guests, yes, it's a hassle for most of them to get guests. They deal with some bullshit agent, so I can even charge them per guest. That's my offer. That's why I think this is gonna work. So what do you guys think? Do you need access to the prompt here to that list? I'm also officially announcing that I'm launching podcastlist.com. I'm not going to get the .com. I might change the name of that business. But we're going to sell podcast lists, right, with enrichments. So let's see how that goes. Let me know if you need access to that. And yeah, usual, thanks for tuning in, even if it's that late.